What is up everyone, welcome back to Lex Alexas. Today it is my championship review of the match day 35. We've had some crucial results in the top and the bottom part of the table. The top 6 is being mushed around constantly. We've got one game in midweek to predict for the championship. We've also got a couple of FA Cup games that I'll predict later in the video as well. So we've got a couple of things to go over. Obviously West Brom and Swansea are playing tonight, so I'm not going to include them in my review. But the 11 other matches that took place, I will talk about my thoughts and views on all 11 of these games. If you guys like what you see, please give the video a like. It does tremendously help the channel. Let's aim for 20 likes. That'd be unbelievably appreciative. Please do hit the subscribe button if you've not done so, because we are so close now to 1,000 subscribers. Please keep this going, guys. I'm fantastically appreciative of all the support you've given to this community recently, and please share this channel because that is how we're going to grow together as a community. But without any further ado, let's start talking through what happened in this weekend's games. So we'll start off with the first game at Ewood Park, and Blackburn pick up a crucial win against QPR. 1-0 was the final scoreline, and I'm thinking, is this as crucial, or if not more crucial, than their 1-0 win they picked up at Middlesbrough? Both of those games seem very similar, and actually, what I will say for both of those games, Blackburn were the better team. Blackburn, if you notice from the possession, they don't play a lot off the ball. But how many times have I said it? Their work off the ball is the difference for why you see Blackburn in this position. Their press on QPR was sometimes so intimidating. I literally gawked at the screen because I watched this game live, and it was unbelievable. Some of the runs I was seeing players, making and chasing after the ball. That can be risky, especially if you don't have the energy and stamina to do that for the whole 90 minutes. But they somehow found a way to have this pressing style of football to nullify QPR, where I think QPR will feel very unlucky that they didn't score at least one goal. Kaminsky made a couple of great saves. In the second half, it did seem a little bit more flat. Blackburn looked a bit more tired. QPR in general were quite poor. They looked a little bit leggy and tired. So their passages of play wasn't as fluid as we saw them. The goal scorer came from Rida Kadra from a free kick which looked like Marshall misjudged, and he shouldn't have played anyway because Dieng was actually substitute off, and of course Marshall took his place in the second half. Made some good saves, Marshall, but that one mistake cost QPR, and this could be a crucial mistake he's costed as well, because Blackburn now overtake QPR in 4th. QPR now down to 5th place. For Blackburn, this could be seen as a very crucial win. Rida Kadra, who missed the penalty in the midweek game against Sheffield United, redeems himself, getting 3 points in this game, and I'm sure he'll be absolutely ecstatic. Now to the 3 o'clock games. We start off with Barnsley picking up another win, 3-2 against Middlesbrough. I mean, it's back-to-back wins for Barnsley for the very first time this season. It's 3 wins in 4 matches for Barnsley as well. Following this very sudden upburst in form, Barnsley are now 22nd, 6 points off Reading with a game in hand. Could the Great Escape be on for Barnsley? You've got to question it, because I tell you what, I remember grading their transfer window as very poor, but I tell you what, Domingos Quina, I praised him for Barnsley's second win of the season. But then this game, Amin Bassi came to life, and I already really liked the look of him actually, of when Barnsley played against Coventry quite recently when they were very unlucky not to get anything out of it. But in this game, he was the man to be. He got 2 goals and an assist, 3 goal contributions and 3 goals for Barnsley. You can't get much of a better performance like that. Middlesbrough at the back were very slack actually, and they didn't really look very organised at all. Barnsley, what I liked about them with their attack, they made it very direct. They switched the play a couple of times as well as set pieces. They are a nightmare to deal with as well. And Barnsley took full advantage and great strength actually, especially for Bassi's second goal, to get the better of Jigsaw as well. I mean, it's poor defending on his part. All credit where it's due. Barnsley did well. Middlesbrough had a late comeback. I tell you what, Isaiah Jones winning the penalty, you know, he was the one really trying to do something to really get something ticking for this Middlesbrough side. So they did get 2 goals back, Kitching with the second goal, which was an own goal by a cross actually by Jig Steele. So he kind of redeemed himself a little bit there. But ultimately, it wasn't enough, and it's actually really bad for Middlesbrough. It's 2 defeats in 3. They're 8th place right now, and they missed a good opportunity there, especially with the fact that QPR lost. They could have tried to make some ground through there. Sheffield United lost, so not a good weekend for Middlesbrough, but for Barnsley, this could reignite the great escape for them. Next result is Birmingham 0, Huddersfield 2. I mean, I don't know how Huddersfield do it, but they prove all of us predictors wrong every single week. I predicted a Huddersfield win 2-1, but they made this very comfortable. But looking at the highlights, Birmingham did hit the woodwork twice at least. So I definitely think they were quite unlucky, Birmingham, not to get at least 1 goal. But give credit where it's due to Huddersfield. They were terrific. Colwell scored from a corner. I thought it was an own goal looking at the replay, but I think Colwell did manage to chest the ball into the net and get the final touch to make it 1-0. And then Lewis O'Brien, I mean, Jeremy Bella would not want to watch this back again. Garner kind of squares it back to Bella. He makes himself and just gets, you know, in a tangle, and it leaves Lewis O'Brien literally with an empty net almost, only having the goalkeeper to beat, and no Birmingham player closing them down, which is disappointing. But O'Brien makes no mistake, and that makes it 2-0. I think the signings are still the best players on the pitch. Sunjic also had a moment of good quality there as well, but I'm a bit worried with Birmingham right now. It's 4 defeats in 6, and I was praising that Birmingham looked like they turned the corner a little bit with their new signings, which they have done. I think going forward they look much more threatening, but at the back, very, very slack, and they need to definitely improve that. With Huddersfield, they're up to 3rd. Had Bournemouth not completed their comeback against Stoke, they would have been 2nd place, unbelievably. Football's a weird sport sometimes, but I tell you what, Huddersfield have definitely overachieved, but fair play to them. I think they more than deserve it this year. Blackpool returned to winning ways by beating Reading by 4-1. A very, very unhappy return for Paul Ince and co. But it would have been the perfect start because Reading did take the lead. Yeardrum doing fantastically well in the left-hand side, actually, finding Lucas Giles with a goal. And I was thinking to my mind, Lucas Giles actually going to save Reading, isn't he? Him and John Swift were working very, very well together in this game. But Blackpool did push for that equaliser very early on. And they had Cole Hine in goal, which I would say, since Cole Hine has gone in goal, their results have improved as a goalkeeper. But whilst I do like his agility to make some sharp saves, physically, I just don't see him as this tough, commanding goalkeeper. The fact of the matter is, I think at least 2 of Blackpool's 4 goals, had he shown more strength and more determination to win and obtain the ball over the Blackpool attack, I think it would have been preventable. I mean, I think it definitely wouldn't have made Reading win the game. I'm not saying that, but I just definitely think it would have made the scoreline a little bit less emphatic for Blackpool. Etita scored the first one, and Medine, Lavery, and all these people, and Josh Bowler with a fantastic volley for the 4th goal. They are really special players, and I tell you what, Blackpool up to 14th, I think that really suits them at the moment. I think mid-table is kind of where they want to be. They definitely don't want to completely overachieve this season and potentially have their talent snatched up. They definitely want to keep the core group of players that they got and that good player-manager relationship at least, and to really try and attack it potentially next year, because I think this team's got a good amount of potential. Paul Ince is definitely going to have to be very, very careful. He can't afford too many of those defeats for Reading. They've got a bit of a gap, and they're a little bit lucky in a way that Derby and Peterborough had not won their games either. But they've got to be now careful of Barnsley, because Barnsley now could enter the mix and they can overtake them. I previously talked about Bournemouth's comeback, and they did so against Stoke. 2-1 the final scoreline. I tell you what, they really do love the late show, Bournemouth, because that's the 2nd time in a row where they've had a 2-1 comeback taken place in the final 10 minutes of the game. Now, once again, they fall behind. Early goal. They did so against Blackpool, and they did so to Tommy Smith this time. And it was poor. I think it was Lloyd Kelly who gave the ball away very cheaply, and it was a loose ball 1, and it was Tommy Smith with a brilliant strike. Don't get me wrong, it's a brilliant goal coming in from the inside of the post and into the other side of the net to make it 1-0. But then the game turned, I think, when the red card was awarded to Morgan Fox. For me, I think that was a very harsh straight red, in my opinion. Reason being is that I can understand the speed of the challenge was a little bit dangerous. I would agree on that. definitely a yellow card challenge at least. But the fact of the matter is, there's really not much contact when I see the replay. If he had gotten better contact, let's say studs into, the player at least, then definitely a red for me. But when I look it back, it doesn't look like that Fox has a really strong connection. So I think a little bit harsh in my opinion, and I think it did cost Stoke as well, because Stoke had to really retreat and try and survive Bournemouth storm, and actually they nearly scored a second goal when Cantwell and Cook gave the ball away in separate passages of play, which led to really good chances for Brown and Nick Powell respectively. But it was Bournemouth once again leaving it late to get the win. Solanke with the equaliser, and Jamal Lowe, who was one of the goal scorers in the late equaliser against Blackpool last time, he somehow scored the winner this time to make it 2-1, where in the previous game he actually provided the equalising goal. So fair play to Bournemouth, because a lot of pressure had been put on them. They were previously actually falling into third place, following now Huddersfield were beating Birmingham, but they keep second place. They do have a really tough fixture schedule due to the fact that they had 2 of their matches postponed due to Storm Eunice, so that could definitely be tough. But I think the quality and the depth they have in their squad, I think they can handle it. It's 4 wins in a row, and Bournemouth definitely having the right run of form if they definitely want to be promoted, as with Stoke. They're down to 15th place, and I tell you what, they've only got a couple of games left, I think, to save their season, especially if they really want to try and push and make some progress from previous years, because unfortunately what's happening is that the teams around them are so competitive and so high in quality that a bad run of form and a couple of unlucky games could really be curtains to your season. And I think Stoke definitely are going to put pressure on O'Neill, especially if he cannot push Stoke at least in the top half, because that squad definitely deserves a top half finish. Let's game Fulham win by 1-0. Not a high scoring performance this time from Fulham, but they made their one chance count. It was Mitrovic. I mean, there's no surprises in there. He had scored his 34th goal this season. I tell you what, if he carries on at this rate, he is, I think, is he 16 goals away from the record? I think 50 to 55 goals is the world record set in a second tier season. It's a good header in the end, and I tell you what, Cardiff had chances. James Collins missed a one-on-one chance before Fulham actually scored their goal, and they did create half chances. I tell you what, it wasn't the best of games. It wasn't one of those games that were dominated by a lot of chances from the, both teams. Both teams kind of had their half chances. Mitrovic, of course, took his, and it was poor defending that led to the goal. But overall, I don't think these two teams were actually very far apart, to be honest. I think both earned each other's respect, and I think a close-ish game, I think, was definitely deserved. 9 shots to 11, 4 shots on target to Fulham's 3. So Fulham did struggle a little bit, but I got to give Cardiff some credit. They actually did manage to try and control it and dictate the game, but Fulham just taking their chances, and that is why Fulham are up there in the table. What an absolute classic we saw at the Ricoh Arena. Coventry 1, Preston 1. Doesn't sound like a classic game, but a late penalty in the 89th minute, a 98th minute last minute equaliser, last kick of the game, and 2 red cards. That is what I call a classic championship game. I absolutely loved watching all of these games back. I really did enjoy it. Preston, what they did well is that they broke up the play very well. I mean, they had 20 fouls, Preston. That's by far the most fouls we had this weekend by any team. So they were definitely determined to break up the play, and hopefully that would disrupt Coventry's flow. And at a very couple of times, it did work. Preston were definitely the closest to scoring before any team scored, when they had one chance that came off the post. The first moment that happened was when Lindsay got a second yellow card to a red card. I think, yes, that should be a second yellow card, therefore resulting in a red card there. So I don't have any complaints with that decision. Then the red card on Dabo. So, it was a penalty conceded by Dabo, I believe a foul on Reece Jacobson, and I think the red card is given due to denying a clear goal scoring opportunity, but I don't know, something tells me that Reece Jacobson definitely was a little bit more elegant and a little bit more dramatic in the way he dived, in my opinion. Basically, it looked a little bit like a dive, but I could slow the replays down and I could see it again and I could think, yes, it's definitely a penalty. So a penalty was given, Johnson scored it to make it 1-0, and I think a couple of people left the stadium at that time. To lose a last minute goal like that and to lose 3 points would have been a big blow. But Tavares shows you need to stay for the full time whistle. So Tavares scores an outrageous goal out of nothing in the top right corner. I saw Tavares, I was thinking, right, what on earth can he do in that position? But bang, it was such an unbelievable goal in the top right corner. It deserved the celebrations and the cheers with the people that were left in the Coventry community stadium. So it was a brilliant snatch and grab draw for Coventry. A bit of a blow. I think they definitely would have wanted to win Coventry based on the playoff competition, and it was an opportunity lost with the fact that Middlesbrough and Sheffield United both lost their games in this weekend. But it could be seen as a point gained, especially due to the situation of the game. With Preston, fair play to them. They really gave him a good game. They were very physical, and it clearly nearly worked for them, but gutting to drop 2 points to a 98th minute equaliser. So definitely Rhino going forward, he'll have to sort out Preston's game management. Next, we saw Luton and Derby play out a 1-0 win to the home team. Now, I would say Derby started well. I think Derby did start well. The chances that they were creating were substantial. Jed Steer was very crucial. And I tell you what, I don't know what he's done with his hair, Jed Steer, but he made some very crucial saves, especially in the first half, I would say. But one thing I'm a little bit worried about was when Danny Hilton scored his goal, and it was a good goal, but disappointingly, no one closed Hilton down. But as soon as Luton scored, Derby did not look like that they would get back into it. When Hilton scored, the highlight reel was pretty much showing chances all for Luton. You know, they were neck and neck. If anything, probably Derby slightly edged Luton, you know, in the first 60 odd minutes, before Hilton scored his goal. But as soon as Hilton did score, the tables completely turned, and it was definitely Luton who were definitely more determined to score their goal. Also made some crucial saves late on in that game, and that's bizarre for Derby because they've been the comeback kings as of late, which is why they've actually amassed the amount of points that they have done. So a bit of a puzzling performance, but fair play to Luton. They are performing out their skins. I talked about Huddersfield overperforming, but Luton definitely are overperforming as well. They're 6th place in the top 6, which is absolutely unbelievable for Luton Town. So fair play to them. Derby have 2 must-win games going up. They've got one in midweek against Cardiff and a home game against Barnsley. They, for me, need at least 4 points from those games if they want to have any chance of survival for me. Who saw this result coming? Millwall managed to beat Sheffield United by 1-0. I mean, I probably should have, because I even commented when I did my predictions for this game. Millwall at home have been so reliable, but Millwall have also drawn many games, so that's why I went for a draw. People, I think, were looking at me thinking, why on earth are you not predicting Sheffield United to win? They're the informed team right now, but Millwall's always a very tough team to go to, and it showed in this game here. I mean, they beat a Derby team that were really good in form, and now they've just beaten a Sheffield United team good in form. So Millwall definitely doing a really good job at ruining good teams' forms. And what I will say, it was a bit flat with Sheffield United, I've got to be honest. With the chances that they had, they didn't really create as much as they have done previously. The stats would tell you that Sheffield United did much better on the ball, but creating chances, I think both teams were very close, very little separated in terms of creating chances. And I tell you what, since Jed Wallace has returned to Millwall, he's been unbelievable. His free kick was how the goal was created, and it was a header by Jake Cooper. Poor defending, I've got to say, by Sheffield United. Could have been a questionable foul in the build-up to that goal, but Jake Cooper just had a free header, and he scored, and I think it was deserved because I think Millwall did come the closest again. Foderingham just looked very shaky in goal today, unfortunately, for him and Sheffield United. But it's a crucial win. It's 1-0. 11th place, Millwall find themselves in the table. They could have a very late chance of getting top 6 if they have consistent results. Sheffield United will look at this game thinking, is this the game that costs us top 6? They had top 6 wide open. QPR losing, they also had Middlesbrough losing as well. Top 6 was wide open and they blew it. So we'll see if this result comes to haunt Sheffield United near the end of the season. And I was telling you about what bad weekends we've had with teams, but what a good weekend it's been for Nottingham Forest. They beat Bristol City by 2-0. They bounced back recently after their tale of draws. And what I will say with this is that now they've closed in the gap on terms of all the teams in the top 6 now. They've definitely got their chance back again. It didn't look too good at one stage. Nottingham Forest, that if they can make it into the top 6, they play the same amount of games as a lot of the teams in the top 6 now, and they're only 3 points off Luton, which is absolutely crazy to think how close it is to getting to that top 6. I mean, two performances stick to mind. Keenan Davis was brilliant. Jed Spence was brilliant again. And then I've got to give credit to the goal scorers as well. I mean, Brennan Johnson, how he finds the space to create some of the goals from the weirdest and most difficult of angles, I'll never know. He is a very special player, Brennan Johnson. He'll be up there and most definitely in my championship team of the season. He has to enter. He's been absolutely unbelievable this year. And James Garner scores a great goal as well from the volley as well to make it 2-0. Bristol City, with both goals, just defensively, they just did not push any of the Forest players. Their pressing was not as strong. If they had Blackburn's press, then they would have a lot more success at limiting teams from scoring. And it was a weird game for them. Only one shot on target, which is bizarre for Bristol City because they create a load of chances usually, but they really struggled in this one. Nottingham Forest with 16 shots to 5. It's pretty clear to say that Nottingham Forest were the better team, and I think they definitely deserve this win, and it's a crucial win for them as well. In Bristol City, I think they're just going to be in a pretty meaningless mid-table position, unfortunately. Final game to comment on is Peterborough 0, Hull City 3. Peterborough fall to the bottom of the championship for the first time this season, and I won't lie, it could potentially be an outcome that may stay there as well, as Hull were really, really good in this game, actually. Defensively for Peterborough, I could not believe some of the things I was seeing there. Harrison Burrows, one of the goals that Hull City scored, was pretty much down to him completely misjudging the ball. Their touches as well is not that great, and only one shot on target at home is not great at any team, at any league, you know, let alone the championship. But to only have one shot on target is not great. Grant McCann, I thought, you know, with him coming in, maybe he could have a managerial bounce. I didn't think so, but I thought he might have his team ticking along a little bit, and due to Hull potentially having a depleted squad and not doing well with their form, I thought it'd be a draw. Keane Lewis-Potter, best player on the pitch by a country mile, his second goal. Just to control, just to run across that whole back line, knowing that everyone was catching up to you. He led that counter-attack very, very well and managed to nutmeg Steve Bender as well to make it 3-0. As for Peterborough, they had Derby and Hull, two must-win games for them, and they've lost both of them. So, unfortunately for me, whilst it's not mathematically impossible for them to go down, and they can still stay up if Grant McCann inspires some form out of them, but I just don't see it for me. I just don't really have enough confidence in this team. They're not good enough, and it's as simple as that, sadly. So, that wraps it up for my review. Of course, as I said, West Brom and Swansea are playing tonight. This is what the table looks like before both of those two teams have played. Fulham and Bournemouth still in the top two, but Huddersfield now third. Blackburn returned to fourth, QPR, and now Luton enter the top six. In terms of the teams in danger, I mean, look at that. Barnsley now 22nd, Derby back down to 23rd. Peterborough occupy last place in the championship. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to predict Cardiff and Derby like I would in my score predictions with FIFA's background and the graphic as well. The only game we got on midweek is Cardiff versus Derby, which was one of the games that was postponed due to COVID. So I'm really interested to see how this goes. Cardiff obviously recently played at home, you know, in their last game against Fulham, and I think at home Cardiff have really improved. The difference that I see from them now compared to what they were with Mick McCarthy with home games is night and day. Now Derby, I'm a little bit worried, especially with their away form. Derby have lost 4 away games in a row, only been able to score 2 goals in those 4 games as well. So I'm a little bit worried that Derby, if they don't win this game, it could be potentially crucial. A draw might not be bad, but with this being a game in hand for Derby, they cannot afford to drop too many of these chances now. As a prediction for this game, I have a feeling there won't be many goals in this game. I am going to back Cardiff for a 1-0 victory, but Derby could easily squeeze something out of this. I was either thinking 1-0 or 1-1. Funny enough, that's exactly what FIFA's predicting as well, which I would even kick myself even more if FIFA somehow is right. And finally, to end the video, on the left hand side of the screen are my FA Cup predictions. These won't count towards the prediction league, by the way. The Cardiff and Derby game will, because it's a championship game. And I will post the updated standings of the Let's Football Prediction League on the community page as soon as Cardiff finish their game against Derby. So keep your eyes out potentially for Wednesday, because because that is when I will post the updated standings. And I tell you what, it's a pretty good competition we got going on so far. But that'll have to wrap it up for today's video, guys. I really enjoyed recording this one. If you guys enjoyed it, please give the video a like. It does tremendously help the channel. Please also hit the subscribe button if you've not done so. It does really help the channel. And please share this channel to as many people as you can. All of that really helps the growth of this community. But that'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary every Sunday in this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.